Yeah, Balki. So just start with the TCS thing, and then we'll go back to Bobby.
Yeah, no, I was wondering why IT is going down because rupee is depreciating. So I thought IT should be going up, but I think it all started with that Infosys founders selling, doing some bulk selling,
Right.
and also there are issues with some what they call cross currency issues. I don't know what that cross currency means.
Okay.
And and today TCS also has announced that their this quarter revenue may be less than what was announced, and in BFSA especially they will have lesser revenue.
Yeah.
And I was also reading some report just now which said that Wipro's revenue will not be as much as earlier planned, especially in the utilities division.
Okay.
Because utilities are mostly oil companies, and because the oil prices have come down, they will reduce discretionary spending.
Right. Okay.
So
All right.
that was one observation. Second was there is two data which came after the market hours today, which is what is October IIP,
Okay.
which is Index of Industrial Production,
Right.
which is actually supposed to be a very shocking figure. It is down negative 4.2% against the CNBC poll estimate of 2.1 plus 2.1%.
Oh my God. Okay, that's really bad.
And it's led by degrowth in the manufacturing sector. That's what it says.
Okay.
So that was one. And second one was the CPI, that is Consumer Price Index, which is actually, I think it was a good figure. It was at 4.5 against 5.52. I think 5.52 may be the expected CPI, but it is 4.4. The CPI was good, but IIP was not good.
Okay. I think and this is what you're referring to, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. This is definitely not good news. So this came out after the market hours.
Yeah, 5:30 today.
Okay. So degrowth in manufacturing sector. So just let me add to that somebody I know whose name is Sudhanshu, who is in Pondicherry. He's actually done one of our courses. He runs a organic brick and construction material manufacturing company. So just had a chat with him sometime back this week actually, and he was saying that how things are actually quite bad in terms of the manufacturing industry. Wherever he goes, people are saying that sales are not good this quarter. And his wife is an event manager with Tata Steel, and she goes around with some senior management for the road shows and stuff like that. And according to her also, wherever she's gone in the last few weeks and months, the street reports of how steel is selling and all is apparently pretty bad. So what he was saying is that this quarter's results, which will come out in the next 4-5 weeks in Jan, may actually be quite disappointing. And his view is that it had not yet been sort of factored into the market. So just adding to this news that has come out that the IIP numbers are down. So yeah, that's definitely not good news at all. So the consumer price index has come down 4.3%, I think. Then but it says here led by a favorable base, so that could mean that it was high last time and just you have a base effect. But still, all said and done, I think this is grounds for maybe RBI looking at dropping the rates, and then who knows, maybe we get a 0.5% cut next year in March. We just have to wait and see. Okay, good. I mean, this is timely information. Thank you.
But
yeah.
But why is the manufacturing down this quarter? Why is it? Is there what?
I don't know. And at least there's nothing in this article, and I don't really have a answer to your question. Maybe we'll find something in the days to come.
I was just wondering, when you say manufacturing, I mean it's a wide term, right? So I was just wondering if is there anything specifically in manufacturing? Is it steel? Is it cement?
Everything,
is it automobile, or
everything.
some of them are connected, right?
Yeah, they're connected, but it includes everything. When you talk about IIP in manufacturing, it's everything. It's not some specific thing. There are, like you can see in this article itself, that there are a few bright spots. It's mentioned the electricity has been good and basic goods have been good, right? But overall, things are obviously not looking up at all. I mean, from a plus number to get from a plus estimate to get a negative degrowth, that's definitely not good. And and to add, um, Chinese November industrial manufacturing was the lowest in 24 years. This news that came out sometime either today or yesterday is the lowest in 24 years. That's big news. And I don't know. I maybe there is something more happening that we are not aware about. When the world is in a worse state than maybe people think it is. I don't know. Just throwing some ideas out. So, but good and timely discussion, I think. All right. So, all right. Go on. Anybody else?
No.
All right.
Sid has joined.
Sid, hi. All right. So, China, November manufacturing is at 24-year low. Okay. Yeah. So, that cross-currency thing that you were saying, Balki, I no clue what they're talking about because normally they would bill in dollars and just get rupees here. So if you're doing cross-currency, you have at least another currency involved. So I'm wondering what that could be. Is it the euro or the yen? Because at least as far as the yen goes, the yen has become actually much weaker, 120 yen to a dollar. If there's some cross-currency thing there and the Indian companies are getting hit because of that, there could be something there that's not working out in the way they thought. Right? But coming back to IT, I think that TCS, the newspapers or the TCS officially has said they want to what? Workforce restructuring, which basically is a polite way of saying downsizing.
Layoffs?
Yeah, layoffs. Yep, absolutely. All right, so that's happening, and so Wipro had already announced layoffs earlier, right? I think of around 30,000 was the number. I don't know if that's something I read or somebody told me. So, and these are basically your, mid-level folks. And apparently the logic, according to one Wipro person who had attended a session about 2 weeks back, is that, you fire the, what do you say, the expensive middle-level fellows and replace them with like 2 or 3, entry-level fellows, and you'll actually still save money and get more work done. So apparently that's what's happening there. I don't know how true it is. So
Musa, I told you 2 years back that this is coming.
yeah, true. And I think about a year and a half back, we had mentioned something like in one of the IMRs at that time called LFT, that this is not the time to work for IT, it's the time to invest in IT. I hope you remember that conversation. Right. So yeah, things are going to get tough, and I think it's just the beginning. IT is definitely going to undergo some sort of mild, if not radical, transformation in the months and years to come, and there's going to be a lot of pain for a lot of people, and not very much hope for people who are getting into IT right now. So it's something to keep at the back of one's mind. Okay, so
that's the same thing I read about the TCS workforce, Musa, that they are getting rid of the mid-level and they're going to review in I think the upcoming appraisals about whether these guys have been contributing or not, and it's basically at the middle level and above. So it clearly states senior software managers and above, I think, in one of the articles that I had read.
Yeah, Business Standard says that very clearly. The so-called what? Consultants, senior consultants, VPs and something, all that. So yeah, that's where the pain is. So
Musa, just click that link where they sent it. Very clearly says that 20, I don't know. Not Wipro. This is TCS. Has Wipro also announced?
Wipro announced, I think, a month.
I think this is the article I read.
Yeah. So, I mean, Wipro was about a month back or something.
Okay.
Right. So,
If you see there, if you go down in that, it says 25 years plus experience.
oh, okay. Yeah, right in the middle. 20 years.
20 years plus experience.
Wow. So, Balki, you quit at the peak. Huh? Not bad. Congratulations.
I saw it coming. So I don't believe they have 20 years experience, 25,000 people. I don't think they will have so.
Okay. Right, but anyhow, so yeah, those are consultants, senior consultants, principal consultants, VPs and all. And they're also calling back people from on-site. So, okay, but however they say they're going to still hire 55,000 people, but those are probably at the junior level, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and therefore gross employee addition of 20,000. So you're going to lose 30,000 and okay. Yeah, and it says here Infosys and Wipro too have initiated such programs. Okay, so of course they're trying to put a nice spin to it, but I somehow think it's a little different. Okay, so this is one. Bobby, can you just review what you said earlier?
Yeah, I had asked one about what is the, what are the triggers, what's the reason it's going down besides, there's a lot of talk about oil prices, one is profit booking, and what's the future going to be in terms of what will direct or trigger or provide stimulus to the Nifty moving up and down.
Okay.
The other is for me personally, I've been tracking different sectors and themes, and the railways, there's some initiative, but those are probably only for specific companies, and policy changes will take time. One thing is very clear and this is very over a longer term, there's going to be a lot of, there has to be a lot of energy sector and power sector changes in India if like BJP is really serious about making a difference. I mean, turning things around in terms of manufacturing. Because if you look at chemicals, if you look at fertilizers, this coal thing, that whole, there's at some point in time, I feel that this is based on what I've read and concluded that there'll be things, forces. When I say forces, demand supply forces. Too much cost, the cost of natural gas is going too much up. So all these energy like hydropower, biogas, and this renewable energy thing will pick up at some point in time. There's going to be focus on that. So I was just wondering, like past, I would say 6 months, power sector and energy sector, that's those indexes, haven't really been star performers.
Right.
So I was just wondering what the theme on that is. And this one company I've been tracking, like TD Power Systems, they've taken a few printouts and have gone through. They've been doing pretty well in terms of the products that they supply to the end prime movers. So I'm just wondering if anyone knows more about that, or what your opinions are. Casting and forging, I've been tracking it, and for casting and forging as a sector. Once see, the thing with casting and forging is it's not just the automobile sector. One thing is it will positively definitely get affected once the automobile sector picks up. Okay, especially the CV and all that. The other thing is, if you look at all these casting and forging guys, right? A good number of them are expanding. I mean, they're like beginning to expand into diverse fields. Like you read about Amtech Auto. I remember Balkid mentioned, right? Yeah, so that's not just Amtech Auto. A good number of them, in almost all the reports you read, the planning going to expand, or have begun some tie-ups with somebody to get into defense and aerospace and their different sectors. So their client base and the variety of their clients is going to increase. The other thing is from the couple of this major, these like you said, these industry newsletters. A lot of them are going to be like Bharat Forge and then Mahindra CIE, and they're going to step up onto the global stage. That means they're going to be tying up and buying companies and tying up, like Mahindra CIE is already done with some company in Spain, and they're going to be like amongst the world, at least in terms of size, maybe not, I don't know right now in terms of quality and stuff like, they're going to be big players, in terms of what the volume they can provide. Technology they're tying up and stuff like. Okay, for the automobile sector, one thing I've sent a Gmail link also, is that the automobile sector, one of the trends is AMT. The other is that the parts that are used, like the casting and forging parts, there's a movement from, or a shift rather, from steel, iron and steel, to for certain parts into aluminum to make vehicles lighter. And that seems to be a global thing, like things like what is it? I sent a couple of links on new materials and stuff being used, okay, for building vehicles. So that's like very futuristic, but in the near term, I'd say near term, maybe 2 years, a year, 2 years from now, there's going to be a shift into lighter material. What the lighter material, whether it's aluminum or something new that comes up, only time will tell.
Okay.
They might use composites.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So, but the casting and forging is something that has to be kept an eye on, simply because the sector as a whole, and pretty much every company will be setting on to expand into diverse fields.
Okay, cool. Done. Yeah. Thanks for that. Just to add to what Bobby said in terms of materials, some of the Japanese companies are actually making a push into carbon fiber and carbon fiber manufacturing units across Europe and the rest of the world. And a lot of these companies, the Japanese companies that are buying these are like the specialist, material companies or sometimes auto companies. Because again, just exactly like what Bobby said, this move towards making things lighter. Of course, all this will happen in the more expensive vehicles in the beginning, but over time, as we've seen, the technology just seeps down to lower stuff. So in terms of industrial materials, engineering stuff, there is also activity from a long-term perspective. Don't think this is something that will happen over even like 1 or 2 quarters. It'll probably be much longer, but yes, there is a move towards that. Yeah. Go ahead, Bobby. We'll talk about some food sector.
That's probably, I mean, I don't know if, I just want to know if anyone's tracking it, because that, like, if anyone is this, I just want to know, because I read something about it, but there's too much in it. The only thing is I just want to know if someone has some outlook on that.
No, I have nothing specific. I mean, apart from some general comments, really nothing else. Anyone has anything to add?
Okay.
Okay, so just on this food thing, one thing to say there is, I don't know whether I can get the link. Maybe if not now, I'll send it later. If you go to the NHK World, that's a channel from Japan. So that's a TV channel. I'm sure they'll have an online presence. They're doing these very realistic projections about how weather in Japan will be in 2050 and 2060 based on the IPCC reports. So the climate change conference that's going on in Lima right now. So what will happen if there's 2 degrees increase? What will happen if there's 4 degrees increase in temperature, etc. Just to keep things short, so they do this something like a weather report as though you are in 2050 right now. Very, very realistic. And how flooding and weather changes, hot days and all. So one of the things that they talk about there is how food production could be very, very drastically impacted, and they're predicting up to 50% to 100% loss of harvest at the current from current levels for some maybe some major crops. So like for example, one of the things they talk about in the program is how crops might fail in America, and because Japan is so dependent on American cereals to import, from rice, from wheat to a lot of things, how Japan will need to sort of respond to that. So coming back to food, I think if you're looking at a 2-decade, 3-decade perspective on food, it's something that's going to become a very, very critical issue. I think if any of these projections, even if like 20% or 25% of them comes true, we are in serious trouble. And in terms of 2 different things, one is taking advantage of that in terms of making money. The other part is just survival to some extent. So there are, I think, going to be things there, maybe genetically modified crops, maybe technologies to keep water less or use less water, or to reduce heat, And I don't know if any Indian companies, nothing comes to my mind, but I think it would be in our own interest to say start tracking specialist companies in this area, especially based out of Israel, because those guys do some fantastic amount of work in this area, and they're like, I think sometimes the world leaders in many of these technologies. And that could be a big explosion worldwide, and those guys are already doing it, and it's just a matter of time. I'm suspecting you'll see a host of JVs happening on that front, and that could be a huge multi-bagger, right? So multi-year, multi-decade view, but there it is. Okay, anything else?
I just sent a link, you can take a look. I mean, what you just said, no?
Mm-hmm. What is Israeli farm company expand operations in India? Okay. Comprehensive crop protection solutions plans to invest $50 million. Okay, they have a sales of 3.1 billion. They started in 2009. Okay. But who are they partnering in India? Which stock do we buy?
No, there's another link. See, after that, this guy went to Israel, no?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of Rajnath Singh, I think.
Okay.
Someone went to Israel and he came back and they took photos with him hanging out with Israeli soldiers and all that.
Okay.
So the key thing was there on defense, but there's a lot of there are a couple of countries that India already has very good relationships with in terms of business and all that stuff. So well, looks like it'll progress further. So there's one website I've gone through where Israeli companies put up these ads for tie-ups with Indian companies who have certain criteria, like either they make a certain product or they have expertise in something.
Okay.
I'll have to find that link.
Okay, cool. Send it if you get it.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Anyone else? Any other topics? So good stuff to.
Yeah. It's,
Go ahead.
actually, one of my more recent, like one is the energy and this power thing. The other thing is this commercial vehicles. I had sent a link through Gmail to the BIC mentor group. Like the CV vehicle thing is now slowly picking up. So I was just wondering if there are a couple of plays on that. If what your opinion on this? But only on CV commercial vehicles.
Okay, I didn't have a look at that. Did anybody else? No? Okay. We'll have a look at it later, Bobby, and then maybe get back to that.
Okay.
Okay. Balki, Sid, anything? Any other topics? All right, fine. So let's. Just got a message from somebody else in the BIC group. There's a Bloomberg article news saying that according to Mark Mobius, he expects oil could return to $90 next year. And yeah, anybody will say anything right now. So, right. Okay, so can you see the Nifty on your screen? All right. So getting into the market review, so last week we had talked about this tweezer stop very much there, actually 3 highs almost at that level, and we also spoke about on the I think weekly chart a divergence that was appearing, and well, that has definitely played out this week. And we've lost almost 400 points from the top. So middle of last week we were at 8,632. We are now at 8,224. Right, so good 400 points and straight red candles. Absolutely no hope for any recovery. And even this 50-day moving average has been broken down. Today's candle red again, and as you can see, the volumes in the last 2 days, of course, below the average, but still definitely can't say they are low. And I think the weakness is very much there. And the closest support, I would think, is 8155 now. So that's another about 70 points lower. I doubt very much that this is going to there's going to be a bounce before it comes there, and especially with this IIP news that came out after the markets, I think it just adds to finding lower levels. So 8,000, 7,900 are distinct possibilities now, I think, and one should be definitely not be looking at buying anything. So let's put that as we find it. 50 low levels, even 7,900 to 8,000 are now. So I think with that, the short thing is no further buying. Okay, perhaps profit booking and looking for shorts. Right, so I think these are the things to basically look at. Of course, might change with individual sectors and companies, but overall, this would be the opinion. So I would say that my view on the Nifty right now is a minimum, I think, of this 8155, but I think 8,000 and possibly 7,900 could definitely be on the cards. It could be a green candle like this in between, because really there's no good news from anywhere. There's some strikes going on in Italy, by the way, against some new government legislation about labor reform, and people are really getting fed up about austerity and all. And with the falling crude oil, I think falling crude oil is now going to cause more trouble than good, perhaps, because in the Middle East now it's below the price at which any budget is going to work. So all the Middle East countries, for their budgets to balance out, they have various different calculations, and the lowest one I think is Saudi Arabia, if I remember correctly. And now crude oil prices even below the Saudi Arabian balance the budget level. So what will the Saudi, or rather the Middle East countries do? Of course, some of them have massive reserves, both Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and not all of UAE. Abu Dhabi has, Dubai doesn't. So we could, if crude oil stays low for very long, then I think there is a geopolitical risk that's happening. And of course, Russia has, the ruble has been just hammered down. So one of the reasons, by the way, so that Russia is so keen on doing business with India is because, first of all, Russia has been sort of shunned by by the West, and as you've all seen in the newspapers, talking about building 12 nuclear reactors, about building the most advanced Russian helicopter in India, various things. So Russia is looking for partners, and India, well, is still quite happy and open to that. So low crude oil prices, that's something that we should put here. Now more of a problem than good is something that we need to be sure about. Okay, so view on the Nifty again, I think 8,000, 7,900, and definitely looking at this year itself, not looking at these levels for the next year. I'm looking at these levels within December. So we've got another about 2 weeks to go for expiry. So we've got 24th, yeah. Good time to start, writing, I think, out of the money calls, make some time value. Next expiry is a shortened week, it's 24th, it's not on 25th. And then, yeah, so that's it about the Nifty. Coming to the individual sectors, so Bank Nifty, so I think first thing which is very obvious on the Bank Nifty is that it clearly hasn't fallen in the way the Nifty has. It's just gotten down and seems to be resisting going down, and in the middle of this week when it just bounced off from there, it's been highly overbought in a lot of ways on almost any indicator, and this I would think is a correction. I would not short banks at all. I would actually look at these opportunities if it goes down to actually get into banks even more, especially on the spot side. But on the in terms of levels, I think somewhere around this, which is 17,500 to 17,700 is a distinct possibility right now on banks. Would not short. If it comes there, would look at perhaps looking at longs. Then BSE power. So that's just not been able to, like Bobby also said, not been able to go across those levels. So this just so clearly highlighting the importance of technical analysis and levels, etc. It's just not able to go beyond this resistance. And if one had bought preemptively, then well, as long as you knew it was preemptive, it was fine. But the really higher reliable move was after it had crossed. So which did not happen, and power is going down. It's very critically placed at exactly the 200-day moving average, and if it breaks down, then much lower levels on the power sector are distinctly possible, right? So that's a turn for the worse in a sense. BSE reality. Okay, so BSE reality proportion wise, of course it has become soft, but doesn't seem to have become too soft. Yesterday and today seem to have been the worst days. Quite possible that it could come down. It will most probably come down to at least 1500, maybe even 1400. But again, it's a question of whether it will stop there or whether the market will take a view of the lower CPI and hope that the RBI would cut rates, and that would therefore stimulate potentially the reality space. We don't know, so I think it's wait and watch. Wouldn't necessarily short this aggressively right now, but rather wait till it comes to 1500 and look at what it's going to do. Then so CNX IT going down. So really, why? Well, there's more selling than buying. That's all as far as technical analysis goes. But all this restructuring stuff, maybe it's bringing out into the open the stresses in the IT sector. And like Balki said, with oil prices coming down, a lot of utility companies or oil producing companies in the West have much lower discretionary income, and therefore one of the things that will get cut first is perhaps IT stuff. So yeah, and it looks like IT could come all the way to 10,000. 600 or thereabouts is absolutely no green candle at all, unlike the Nifty. And not only has it broken the 50-day moving average, it's also broken the 100-day moving average. So a lot has changed actually in the last one week. I'm sure you'll agree, right? So mid caps, all right, also doing badly. Nifty Junior, all right, just as bad as Nifty, I would say. Energy gone. Wow, this is a big fall. So really big drop in energy. I'm really surprised to see this much of a fall. I would have thought that company like HPCL, BPCL would have been quite happy to go up, but definitely not the case. And once it broke that support, it just has fallen to this level, and that level also really hasn't held at all. And looks like 8,290, maybe 8,000 itself is coming. Two heavyweights which will weigh this down. One is ONGC, or rather three: ONGC, OIL, Oil India Limited, and Kane. All of three are producers of crude oil, and global crude oil coming down is really bad for them. So maybe the OMCs have done well. We'll have a look, but the oil producers are overwhelmingly being just sold off. Okay, then infrastructure also not looking good. Again, broken the 200-day moving average. So a lot of indices have broken 200-day moving averages. Pharma not yet broken down. So we've been talking about pharma and saying no further buys, and sort of a double top. And I'm wondering whether it's like becoming a what do you say? A safe sector again, given that everything else is doing badly, and maybe fund managers are buying as a hedge sort of. PSU Bank. So PSU Bank's also, actually if you look at the Bank Nifty has sort of turned down, but the PSU Bank has more or less gone sideways. Of course, Bank Nifty has gone to a life high and done that, but PSU banks are far from life highs. But it's interesting the unwillingness for them to actually move down. So definitely showing strength. Okay, so as expected in a downturn, the VIX index, the volatility index has gone up, inched up a little bit. Nothing great, but still it was at really low levels. And yeah, so one of the thanks for that, FMCG defensive sector. Thank you, Sid. So one of the things we had said in the FNO class just last weekend when we were looking at the VIX is how the VIX is at very, very low levels, historically speaking. And the VIX is, as we know, an index of greed and fear. And when the VIX is very, very low, the market is very, very complacent. People are like, oh, things are honky-dory and life is good and all. And people don't, or the market participants tend not to look at the bad news, tend to get very complacent and all. And now maybe that slumber is, coming off, and it's definitely more, what do I say, attention being paid to the market. You'll see the implied volatilities go up in especially the puts by quite a bit. But definitely still far from what the VIX can be at high levels. So forget even at 33, even at 18-19%, it's at 13. It's still a long way to go. So it's not like we've got a big fall in terms of sentiment, just price move. But if the sentiment cracks, then we could definitely get a much bigger down move in the markets. All right. Yeah, okay, something skipped. Give me 1 second. Okay. Yeah, we'll come to, okay, you want to see gold bees now? Sure. Let's finish the sectors first. Auto index, so that's also turned down very clearly, but nicely well above the long-term moving averages, so definitely some strength. Consumer durables going sideways, importance of waiting for a breakout being re-emphasized, so that's also another space not doing well. Capital goods went almost there to the resistance 16,800, but has fallen with the rest of the market. This could be one place which could actually fall a lot on Monday, right? You can also see here that the size of the red candles here pretty strong, long Marubozu type, long blacks or reds, and with the IIP numbers bad, this could be one place where you could see a fall by maybe 1,000 points on the capital goods. FMCG still holding out, quite strong. Healthcare, metals. All right, so this is really, really important. Metals has broken a very, very important support level. That is a multi-year support from 2005. So metals could be going down much, much further. So this is two things to keep in mind, I think. Metals, power, and cap goods. Good shots. All right, so we need to explore further. Okay, I think that's it. Okay. All right, so this is very important and very interesting. This is the 35-year Sensex chart, as you are all aware, and well, looks like we sort of need to revise this chart because you can clearly see that it's really not doing. One sec, what happened? Okay. And this is a weekly chart, and this week has obviously been a pretty bad week, right? So big weekly engulfing evening star, nice confirmatory candle. Note that this is weekly, and at this rate, definitely a long way to go. And if you look at it, we are at around 27,000 on the Sensex, and if we go by just simple TA, then really good support is at this trend line, which is at around 24,000. So we're talking about a 3,000 point 10% almost fall, actually more. And this life high has actually never been tested, so that's one theme I keep talking about, 21,000. So who knows, these are levels to watch out. If those levels come, I think really good buying opportunities that would happen. So really need to look at um, having some cash. So I don't know, maybe it's time to look at liquidating longs and waiting on the sides and waiting for lower levels. What would be very interesting is, I think once the results come in the next 4 or 5 weeks, we could see big moves happening in the markets on individual stocks and the overall market, depending on how it comes out. Okay, all right. So I think we just found lots of shorts, possibly IT also, banks, and FMCG holding out well, pharma, again defenses. Okay, so that's the overall view. Autos, I would say, are a pass for now. Okay, so with that, let's look at individual stocks, starting alphabetically. Okay, so how much can change in a week? In actually just a day. So if you remember last week, we said ACC, Ambuja could be one of those stocks that you could go long on Monday, and how much change in that Monday, because what you got is a dark cloud cover, and then you got just a complete reversal, and there was absolutely no on retrospect to go long, and ACC and I'm sure everything else has come back to they've just turned away from their short-term uptrends. So ACC sideways, consolidating for perhaps the next down move again. Again, keep this in mind about say poor industrial production, poor quarterly results next month, in the next few weeks, and maybe ACC is now headed to 1350 or even 1300 for sure. You can, as a stop loss, nice stop loss on the short side at around 1448, 1455. Ambuja, okay, so nice similar pattern, very big reversal on Monday, and Ambuja is perhaps coming down to 215, but I suspect we're going to find some nicer shots than these. Volumes are low, so that's one thing. Ultratech, very interesting. Very interesting. So Ultratech behaving very differently. This is surprising strength, and obviously Ultratech should not be shorted. Having said that, however, you may want to actually keep a short at 2440 spot. If that breaks, then at least 40-50 rupees down quickly would happen. On the other hand, no longs, buy it only if it crosses 2600. Asian Paints was doing life highs, has gone sideways, and well, for now, really nothing much. It's looking like a buy, looks like a flag, right? And I think we mentioned a flag also on Asian Paints last time, but as of now, not broken out. And even if it does break out, you may want to reconsider buying this. Definitely no shorting it. Just keep watching. If it comes to 700, that would be a good place to perhaps buy Asian Paints. On the other hand, a short-term trader, you could short this. If it goes below 760, it'll probably go at least till 720, and you can have a nice stop loss at 786. Axis Bank, so that has turned down soft with the rest of the market. Volumes have clearly come down. You can see the red line itself, that's the average, has also come down, and the next level of support a little bit above that at around 470. All right, and at that time could be a buy, could be a short, we'll have to review. But like I've said, when we're looking at the bank nifty also in the PSU banks, banks should not be shorted. You should really wait for lower opportunities to get in and buy them long. Bajaj Auto, okay, so trend line clearly broken, and you can see how the gradual rounding happened in the moving average. You can also see how the MACD actually turned 2 weeks back already and was setting the path for, I think, what was likely to come. And now the volume seems to be picking up this week on the selling side. If there's a bounce, that's the bounce that one should use to probably short at around 2,600. On the other hand, if it comes below 2,500, then 2,400, 2,350 are definitely possible levels, targets for the shorts. There's actually almost a good rounding top here, and if you take the measuring implication is 200 rupees, and if it breaks, the neckline is nicely 2,500 minus 200, 2,300 is what we are possibly looking at. You can see the trend line is clearly broken, and let me put this here. The charge. Top. Looking good, I would say. Okay. Bank of Baroda. Okay, so went to the life high, but again came down with the rest of the market. Don't be surprised, if with this lower CPI and IIP, the market decides that interest rate cuts are now inevitable, and just jumps into banks expecting who knows. I don't think Ranjan is somebody who Rajan likes to do surprise things, but sometimes your hands are forced and you have to. So he would have probably liked to do something only at the next policy decision, but now if they decided the evidence is enough for a rate cut, then they just might announce it. Who knows? So sorry, coming back to Bank of Baroda. Break of 1050 could easily take it to 1000, but that should be an opportunity to buy the stock, not to sell it. Volumes, as you can see, are on the lower side, so selling not happening actively. Lower levels should be looked at for support. If it comes down, you may want to actually later in the month or next week or whenever that happens, look at the 1000 call for Jan, right? 1000 call for Jan. Whether you want to look at buying that, might give you some good returns in Jan. Bharti Airtel, so that's just gone and tipped over, and now it has broken this very important support line at 350. A weak attempt to recover today, but really nothing much. Lots and lots of resistance on the top side. Any move up should be used to short the stock. Nice, I would say stop loss. Excellent. 200-day moving average here, 365, 370. I think fantastic stop loss. I very much doubt it's going to bounce up that much. The only positive news is that the Defense Ministry has agreed to vacate 5 megahertz and provide that for spectrum. And on the downside, that's still a long way away for it to get implemented. On the downside, I think coming to 325 rupees is what Bharti is likely to do. BHEL, so that's also broken trend line. It's broken. So it had done that last week itself, as you can see, and this week just continued, and after it broke down, see what happened here. Your inverted hammer, absolutely no confirmation at all, long upper shadow, lots of selling pressure on top, and then just going down, broke this not very important resistance, support of 250 psychological, but yes, and the next level is at 235. So I would say BHEL, good short, capital goods, again remember, stop loss at around 258, 262, and I would look at 240 and then 230 as the next target. BPCL, okay, so this week's move down has actually not been much, and it's right now taken support on the 100-day moving average, and volumes wise a little down, but the MACD trend you can clearly see is down. It's gone to the negative territory right now, so wouldn't be too much of a hurry to do anything with BPCL, though I think the real thing is to look at buying this, no shorting BPCL, don't shorting oil OMCs, okay, oil marketing companies. So it could take support at 650, it may not. If it does not, it may come down to 600. Don't short this, but wherever support happens, I think that's the time to enter BPCL. If the government actually allows the, doesn't say, let's put it another way, something we discussed last week, which is they don't pass the entire thing through and allow the companies to make some money, or they have this variable tax structure, so they keep fluctuating the tax amount while the retail price doesn't really go down much from here. Good for the company, good for the government. So in either way, I think fiscally speaking, it would be a good thing. So for that reason, I would say be a little cautious on shorting this. Having said that, if you're a pure technical player, once this down long multi-month, almost 1 year uptrend line got broken, that would have really been the time to short at around 700, 710. So right now, I think wait and watch. If it breaks 650, then you could consider shorting it with a stop loss at around 673 and a target of 600, even 590. Gain, so there you have it. Today it finally broke that level of 250, and see, once it broke, how much it just fell, and the volumes have clearly increased. So if you're tracking crude oil together with this was the one to short, and then the next support on gain is where? So unless crude oil makes a dramatic recovery in the world, I don't think there's any hope right now. It's at 225, the next level, and then after that 200 also. So gain is definitely a short, all right, and excellent stop loss, I would say, is just at 255, not very far from where it is right now, and definitely for somebody who's got a higher risk appetite, 266. Target 225, then 200. Cipla, all right, so there, wouldn't buy it, so it's, even though it's become a defensive play, pharma, just have to watch this head and shoulders. Either it has to break out of the all-time high at around 680, or it breaks down at around 605 or even below that, and then we will review. Coal India, oh, this is interesting, very, very interesting. Let's make a list. Interesting formations. Coal India, Ultra Tech. When you get formations like that, something is cooking. We may not be in the new awareness of it, or there's something happening in the background. It's not yet public domain, but something interesting is definitely happening in Coal India and Ultratech. Watch out for the news. If you are looking for longs, then these are the ones that should be there. Coal India should have a SLTP buy order at 372, 375. It just could bounce up any day, and then zoom, it will go up. Looks like it's very, very difficult at this point for it to come below 350. If it comes down to, let's say, 360 or even 365, you could consider, it's at 364, if even at these levels you could consider buying it, and then just hold on to it very patiently. Having said that, remember that you're going against the larger trend of the overall market, and therefore you may not want to buy it, but on the other hand, it could just give you a very handsome surprise if good news comes out. DLF, so DLF technically went to the 200-day moving average on Monday and turned down from there. Now it's sitting a whole bunch of moving averages which are acting as support and resistance right here. I wouldn't short it. It's had a nice run up from 100 rupees to 160, 60% up move, a correction to 140 perhaps, and at which time we could consider to review this and see whether it's a buy or a short. At this time, just watch. If you have to, then good stop loss for the short would be only around 670, 672. Lower risk might be around 662, 663, but it could just go there. Real thing would has to be break this 150 mark. All right, so there is your middle Bollinger Band, the 100-day moving average, and the low of yesterday. And 150 is nice psychological number. If 150 breaks, then to 135, 140, quick move could easily happen. And if you're an intraday, 2-day type trader, then you could look at this very short-term trade. Dr. Reddy's. So again, I would say wait and watch. It's come down the previous week, but this week it has actually gone up a little bit. Could actually be a flag. This could be the flag. So from here, let's put it for our reference next week. Yeah, this could be a flag, a downtrend flag, and if that breaks down, then we should definitely be shorting Dr. Reddy's. So a breakdown below 3,300 ideally could take it down by about 300 rupees to about 3,000 bucks, and you'll have a very nice stop loss for the short at around 3420. So I would say, just putting this here, DRL downtrend flag. Gale, whoa. So one of the things I want to point out when you get something like this is, in a sense, this was in the making. First of all, you had this resistance or support rather, and if we were, let us say, here itself, you can see that the moving averages are all trending down, the short-term ones, and even some of the 100-day, 50-day had gone flat, and long upper shadows. You're already getting a sense that they were selling coming in, and then it once broke, it tried to go up, support became resistance, and then after that 2 days just bumper profits on a short 472, 437. This is exactly what happens when it sort of tips over, right? Or when a level gets broken after being tested several times, just like this 470 was. And if you have the conviction that could happen, then it's worth taking these positions before itself. I know I'm putting things in hindsight and retrospect, and it looks easy, but still, just to give you perspective, if you're just focusing on this part, and also you had a good downtrend in place, right? I'm just putting those levels. All right, so that. All right. Gold. Okay, so gold has bounced up. Interesting. Now I'm not sure on what account this would be. Could possibly be. So the volumes have started to perk up a little bit, which is also interesting. It could be partially at least explained by the falling rupee. So in terms of rupees, it's become more, and it's come exactly to that downtrend line, as you can see, and just stopped short there, and there's a nice gap here. So we'll have to wait and watch whether it's able to break past that resistance, or does 2,400 break, in which case much lower levels are quite possible. Grasim. So again, the same rounding type formation hasn't really fallen big time, but now MACD is down and some volumes picking up at these lower levels. I would say, wait and watch. Maybe 3,300 or 3,250 could, or you can have this also now. All right. Okay, so good resistance there, or for stop losses there at around 3,420, 25. 3250 is the first level to watch out for. The really big thing will be 3250 breaks. Then, at least 100 points down and then maybe all the way to 3,000. That would be a fantastic shot. So put an alert and then review when that happens, and then you get a nice shot for just maybe 1 day, 2 days. Okay, so our first IT stock, and clearly that's just going nowhere. So as you can see, first of all, after this down move, 3 days of sideways move, and then finally again today, one small fall. And if we were to extend this, 1500, 1460 could be potential supports, but if that breaks, then really it's an important support level, then all the way to 1300 could be a really good trade that you could get, right? So clearly downtrends are there all over the place now. Lower tops in quite a few stocks, lower tops, lower highs, lower bottoms. This one no lower bottom yet, but I think it could potentially be a matter of time before you get a lower bottom. So in many stocks, the uptrends have actually now become clearly downtrends. HDFC, that's a big fall, right? Any bounce up to 1100 should be sorted. Nice resistance at 1125, and once this breaks, 1050 breaks, then all the way to 1000 rupees is a distinct possibility, at which point we will review again. There's both the 200-day moving average and a psychological number of 1000 rupees there, which may stop the fall at that point. HDFC Bank holding out quite well, as you can see, right? So Axis Bank was like that, HDFC Bank was like that, Bank of Baroda was like that, the Bank Nifty itself was like that. So what's more there to say? So these could be actually, so I would say banking is still a place, lots of strength that we are seeing in the banking stocks. Lower levels should be used to buy it until and unless some really dramatic change of something happens, of trading volumes happens. As you can see, again, volumes here are low. Hero Motors, okay, interesting, very different from Bajaj Auto. So Hero Motors showing some amount of resilience in not going down, but could be a matter of time. As you can see, there is a nice downtrend line there. You could use that as a nice stop loss for a potential short. Alright, so maybe 3,200, 3,220 as a stop loss. First target is 3,000 for the short, and if 3,000 breaks, then 3,280, then even 2,850, and then 2,750. That's for Hero Motors. Hindalco, very interesting, very interesting. So Hindalco actually opened with a gap up today, very big gap up, and then was sold down, and it's sitting on the 200-day moving average. The way you saw the metal index collapse, I think it's a matter of time before this one breaks down. You could put a good short now and put a stop loss at around 156, 157, and if 150 breaks, then 140 is coming quite fast, and after that maybe even 130. HUL, lots of strength, I would think, and there seems to be some wait and watch now happening in HUL. You've got a doji, low volumes, maybe it'll come to 775, at which point it could actually be a buy, but definitely no shorting HUL as of now. ICICI Bank, alright, so I need to put so that's on an adjusted basis, the 2008 life high. And so ICICI Bank, like we said last week, quite clearly one of the favorites in terms of top picks to be held, and again coming down on low volumes. No hurry to buy it. MACD has done a crossover, etc. But at whatever low levels it settles down, which it could be at around 335, okay, or thereabouts. This should definitely look at uh, buying ICICI Bank, and then maybe it can even go down to 305 later, but that we shall review when the time comes. So let's put some levels here. 310. Okay. IDFC, interesting, came down, has bounced back. There was some news about IDFC Bandhan looking at Grameen Bank in Bangladesh. Interesting. And I hope you saw the multi-baggers link I sent on, the mentorship group. This guy, I forget his name, Amit, I think, who's tracking a lot of stocks in Africa and especially in Bangladesh. And I just remembered Bangladesh because IDFC, Grameen and all that. So in terms of IDFC, volumes really, I would say, lackluster. Really nothing to write home about. 152, really good support. 165 needs to be crossed before the next move. It's nice consolidation that's gone on. It could collapse to 140 if things, the markets turn bad. But like I've said, IDFC should only be bought and accumulated. Should definitely not be. Short-term trading, I think, should be avoided in IDFC. I think one by one positive news will start to come out of it. This is a weekly chart. You can see a lot of hesitation last 3-4 weeks at the current price levels, and once it zooms, it could just go to, once it breaks out, it could just go to 200 rupees from there. IndusInd Bank, whoa, lots of strength. Look at that. Absolutely no intention of moving down. So again, low volumes. Again, reiterating, banks to be bought. All right. Infi, wow, big turn down. Okay, I need to redraw this whole thing. Alright, so big gap, that gap's not been closed. Remember, if 1900 goes, then Infi could fall all the way to at least 1800. We'll keep one level there, yeah. 1800, the 200-day moving average is also there. I would say there's a lot of selling pressure. This was, of course, that bulk promoter deal, but even after that, I think the volumes have actually, so in the beginning, before that, the volume around 3 million. Now the average volume is around 6 million and even 5.8 million, and if you take this into account, 3.6 million. So downward pressure for sure. 2000 is an excellent resistance. Now you might actually want to look at buying maybe the 1900 put or the 2000 put. 2000 will be in the money, 1900 put, and it would go to easily 1800. There would definitely be enough liquidity on that 1900 put. Those of you who are more adventurous, this level, there's also this big window, no chance of it being closed, I think, in the next 2 weeks. You could sell the 2050 or the 2000 call and buy the 1900 put. Of course, that adds to risk because you're writing an option, but might just work out quite profitably. ITC, so actually gone up, made a new life high. What do you say? And every time it comes down, massive lower shadows. And okay, volumes are a little disappointing, but absolutely no reason to sell ITC. So there's banks. Buy banks and ITC. ITC, by just going back, has to close the 400 mark. Get used to it. So you might want to actually look at the 400 call for Jan again. May not do that this month, or you could do a horizontal spread, sell the 400 December and buy the 400 Jan call option. All right, have a look at how that might go. I think just my talking about results starting in the next few weeks. FMCG might come out with relatively better results than the other places. So interest and money may flow back to the FMCG place. All right. Jindal Steel, wait and watch, has to break out of one of those levels, though I would say on the short term side it's definitely a sell. However, volumes are quite low. Kotak Bank, strength after strength after strength. So like IndusInd Bank, this one is even showing even more strength. So revising my call in terms of pure technical, this could be a buy. This is a buy, and could who knows, 1350, 1500 for sure. L&T, wow. So fell down after trying to hold on to this level for almost 4-5 weeks. Two big candles, then hesitation, then consolidation, and then again the negative sentiment is clearly back. The volumes clearly is telling you exactly what you should do. Short and excellent stop loss at 1568, but if you have a smaller risk appetite, 1530, and once it breaks 1500, then 1450 is, I think, a very quick possibility, 1425. On the other hand, you may also want to look at buying the 1500 put, right? Okay, L&T is a nice short because of the volume increasing on the falling side. Lupin, so the negative divergence has not yet played out. All right, so I would still definitely stay away from this. Only if it breaks above 1500 I would review it. And today you have a filled green candle, not a very good sign. So overall selling still there. Stick my neck out and say buy the 1400 put for December on this. Never know, right? But again, defensive counter, and may not be the best thing to do. I think the L&T put would serve you better. M&M, okay. So M&M was showing some strength 2 weeks now, pivoting around that 1250 level. There's news about M&M buying out Saab in, Saab is from which country? Sweden? Norway, Sweden, I think, right? So that's another thing in line with what Bobby was saying about Indian auto companies diversifying, becoming global, etc. Quite possible. Just on a related note, there is this news, I think again on Bloomberg or Reuters, about yesterday or day before, predicting that India's GDP would cross China's GDP in the next 2 to 3 years, and if that happens, then it's going to be hot money, a lot of money flowing into India possibly, right? All right, so right now 1300 looks like a very good resistance, and if it breaks 1225, then much lower levels are possible. What I would suggest is doing something like say a ratio spread of maybe you sell the 1350 call or even the 1300 call, and you go and buy the 1250 put, or sell the 1200 put and the 13. So that's a short straddle along with a long strangle if you want to, sorry, a short strangle along with a long straddle of 1250, and that too combined with the calendar thing. So do the consider doing the short strangle 1300, 1200 or 1350 and 1200 for December, and the long strangle for the short strangle for December and the long straddle for the January 1250 put and call. See how that works out. Let me just put that. Short strangle 1300 put and 1300 call and 1200 put for December. Long straddle 1250 call and put of Jan. See how that works out, right? Maruti, fantastic strength, no doubt about it. Wouldn't want to fool around with something like that. If it comes down, only buy it. Once it goes beyond 3.5, then who knows, 4,000, 5,000 easily. Look at that stock. In March of this year, it was 1,600, and now it is 3,500. In MDC, it's a sell-off happening. Lots of green candles, however. Wonder what's going on. So I would say wait and watch. Maybe you have a sort of not tweezers bottom exactly, but definitely some good support. So buying only above 145 or shorting below 130 till then stay away. VIX we finished. NTPC probably finally it broke down. Alright, so why does this keep happening? Okay, NTPC finally broke down, and NTPC is now a pretty good shot with stop loss at around I would say 136 and the next target at 125. Only thing, it's already done a big move on Tuesday. What's that huge move? Wow. No volumes, but just from 140 to 135 rupees, 3% down in one day. Little bit of hesitation and then down again. I would not be surprised if it goes to 125, 127 in the coming week. NTPC short. ONGC, yep, oil price is down, 360 broken, nice red candles. Volumes definitely not coming down. Today's volume actually a little bit on the higher side. I think ONGC last week itself we talked about shorting it. This week 360 support only for one day once it broke down. So ONGC, where is it headed? 320, 310, and possibly going lower if crude oil keeps doing that, keeps falling. Okay. Okay. PNB, again, no, huge resilience, no willingness to come back. So I reiterate, this is a stock that will probably go to 1400, 1100 might be, it's at 1096, 1100 might be a buying opportunity. Even if it's not, if it does come to 1000, buy it more, and then once the reversal happens, then you can expect higher levels. So that is the level to, I think, watch out for in terms of it will go down only if it can break 1073, 1070. Then also may just go to 1050 and then run back up. It's like a flag right now, as you can see. And if you look at the measuring implication from 950, and even if it will conservative, 1050, that's 150 rupees. And once it breaks, say, that level of 1130, you're talking about 1230 to 1280. That could easily happen. Power grid. Okay, so this is stay away. Reliance cracked and on increasing volumes. 850 definitely happening. The real play on Reliance this week was when it broke on Monday itself that 860 level. From 960 level. From 960 it's just gone to 900 and just kept falling and huge. And the selling has actually increased. Quite a lot of selling increasing we are seeing across the board. Any bounce here should be used to short, and 850 is the next target. Reliance good short. State Bank of India, again not far from its life high. Low levels around 300 buy, once it crosses 325, then 350 is coming. SSLT, so that's getting worse and worse. 213 goes, then some support at 200, 195 could be shorted here with a stop loss of around 226, 227, and Yeah, 195 probably. Sun Pharma. So now that the Ranbaxy deal has gone through, what does it mean for Sun, etc.? Don't know, but right now looks like consolidation going on. Volumes also have contracted, and interesting. MACD could just be doing a crossover in the next week, plus going to the zero level, and if it does that, then Sun Pharma might just become a nice buy. So Pharma, okay, there's something to keep, and back to its life high of 920 on Sun Pharma. Unlikely that it will break below 810 or 800. Tata Motors. So it looks like the Zest is going to win the Car of the Year award. Okay, and it's outsold the Amaze again. So that's good news. And they've launched the new hatchback version called the Bolt, which is sort of the new Vista. Good reviews on that. But anyhow, that's not enough for the market to go up maybe. Uh, so looks like, M&M, sideways moves, Maruti looking quite strong, Bajaj looking weak, Hero Honda looking strong. Looks like some sort of division happening. But clearly a downturn is happening right now. And again, if the results in the next quarter are bad, then these stocks could be much, much lower. Could look at a short here, 500 rupees, psychological mark, 520 all the way there, really, really good resistance around above 525 only. Could fall to 465, right? So you can see that not only have the moving averages turned down, but the upper shadow is pretty nice and long. And if it breaks below 490, then nice stop loss around 407, 408, and the next target could be 465. So I'm just going to put this out. Tata Motors on the verge of what? 10% fall. Keep remembering, I'm just referring you back to, let's say, Reliance or which were the other ones. I think I'm forgetting the name now. When they were just tipping over and then just comes down. It takes time, but when the action happens, if you're not in it, then you lose the opportunity. So just showing that, and you may just want to at least track it to see, how swiftly things can change, and might just be a trade worth doing here. Tata Motors. Tata Power, okay, so the power index is gone, and we had a triangle. You can see that on Monday, triangle was not broken, but you had a hint in terms of long upper shadow, and on Tuesday morning, you had it open just below that support line and then just come down to 85. Next day would have been a heart attack if you still been holding your trade because you lost all your profits short, and then again it came back, and now it could go down all the way to 81 or 80, 50, and you can put a stop loss of around 86, 87 for the Tata Motors short, Tata Power short. Tata Steel, one after the other. So this is what I mean again, it just falls off. So just look at this whole week. It's gone from 460 to 410. That's like 15% almost, right? 10-15%, and no supports are being respected. Don't be surprised if this one breaks at around 400, then maybe 350 is coming. Any bounce, any bounce on Tata Steel, Tata Power, Hindalco, etc. should all be shorted, right? Will we put this here? Short. Metals. Yeah, we already mentioned it, right? So I think metals are really the ones to consider shorting, even now. TCS, okay, so this is really gone. 2400 is the level you need to watch out for. If that breaks, then 2250 on TCS. After today's news, maybe usually restructuring means good news, but then I think the market is sensing underlying trouble in the industry itself, and maybe that's why it's reacting like this. Very, very, very good resistance at 2500 and 2525 or even 2553 could be excellent stop losses for a short. Again, you can see the collapse in, on Friday last it was 2600, and today now it is 2450. Tech Mahindra holding out, quite resilient, but here is something that is not yet fallen but is preparing to fall. Put a trade with a SLTP sell order at 2530 on your spot, adjust for futures. Nice resistance at 2594, and first target would be 2400, 2410. Ultratech we did. Wipro, look at this, from 580 to 540, and this one has broken the 200-day moving average also. 540 breaks, then all the way to 510, 515 is a distinct possibility. Nice stop loss at 555, but otherwise I think 510 is coming. Z, okay, so rounding top broken, measuring implication 370 to 370 to 390, 20 rupees. So we're talking about 350 at least on Z. That's another thing that you could short. Wipro, Balki is asking, is this a head and shoulder? Little too vague for me, Balki, because I mean really no uptrend. I mean, unless you're looking at this, if I look at it from the whole of this year, the stock has more or less just gone sideways. So wouldn't be too this thing that this is a head and shoulder top, right? This is a weekly chart, looks like very prominent double top, and right now with the sort of weekly deep red candle but low volume that we have, if that support breaks at 540, then I think 500 could easily happen on Wipro. So yep, that's it. We've come to the end of all the Nifty stocks. I think that was a pretty good time. Nice set of discussions today. IT goes all short. So I hope you've noticed how much the market has changed. And if you just get the flow of it, 3 weeks back we were still talking about quite bullish stuff. 2 weeks back we started to find 1 or 2 shorts. Last week we found quite a few shorts and we said no up moves and a nice resistance on the Nifty. Plus we got divergences. And now in the last 1 week the market has completely turned and it is now clearly a seller's market and a shorting market, except for banks and FMCG, which are potential buys at lower levels for sure, if not at current levels. Then all the other sectors, especially your IT companies, your metals, and autos are, some autos are looking quite weak, and even now have good, I think, selling or shorting opportunities. And given the sort of shorting of levels we are talking about for metals and IT, the thing holding up the Nifty up will be the banks. So, just to go back to the Nifty now. Right, so you're going to have this fight. Banks are pretty heavyweight in the Nifty overall, and if the Nifty actually moves up, then it's only on the force of banks and FMCG, which will be counterbalanced by all the other sectors. So I think net down 7,900 next coming week may be a little of a stretch, but 8,000 is I think distinctly possible. And if the banks really don't pull their weight, then 8,709 is definitely possible, right? If you look at the metals and the IT, you're talking about 10% fall. If you're talking about 10% from here on Nifty, you're talking about 800 points. You're talking about then 7,800, which is around these levels, which is there, right? Let's actually interestingly do point and figure on this. Let's see what Nifty's point and figure is looking like. So clearly we have a reversal, and this is 36 points. Let's maybe want to change the parameters to say 1%, and we should say 80. Right. So clearly on the On the point and figure, we have a 3-box reversal, and long-term trend, however, is still up. If it can break below that level, which is 7,730, 7750, then only do we have a point and figure sell signal which is coming. Actually, and if you look at this level, with this low, that high, not that high, but that high on the X column there, right? So 7,730, interesting level to watch out for. Let us see. Okay. Don't want the sunsets. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. So 7,730 we are talking about, those levels somewhere. There, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's see. It'll have to move through some moving average, supports. But as you saw, a lot of stocks have broken even the 200-day moving averages. So just a matter. What's holding this up, I'm telling you, is just banks and FMCG. If any one of those two sort of has further weakness, then the Nifty could fall a lot more. Right? Okay. So with that, to the end of the Nifty stocks, are there any questions, any requests? We'll quickly do a few and then close up. And I hope some of you, or all of you rather, are coming for the session tomorrow by Satyarup Mountaineer. I promise you it's going to be really, really worth it, and you'll really enjoy his narration experience, and it's worth every minute that you spend with the guy, right? So already done one session with him, so just inviting you again. Probably not be able to get him for a long time after this, so see if you can come. Okay, great. Any questions? Any requests? Shall we close? OCL. What is OCL? What do they do?
They're into cement and refractories. Cement and refractories.
They make cement?
I was tracking it.
Okay.
Yeah, cement and refractories. So I was tracking it, and I had it on. I have a lot of them on my watch list and stuff like that. This thing jumped, so I was wondering if there's any reason.
Right. So one stock that we had mentioned some time back, I think a week or two back, Network 18. Remember that big consolidation? Right. So day before yesterday, or rather yesterday, nice big up move. Palki brought my attention to it. Today it just cooled off, and actually that up move happened on really good, fantastic volumes. So Network 18 is another stock that you should probably be, buying in a portfolio. Something cooking there for sure. You bought yesterday. Okay, fine. Okay, OCL. I hope this is the one. Oh, Li-Fi. Wow.
Yeah. See, one of the, I actually keep a track of some of these Wi-Fi's, and like one of the first decisions I made, and I pulled out of, I discussed that with Balki, that Eveready Industries, right? I told you I bought it, and then I wasn't sure. I mean, it was basically a guesstimate, and my logic there was that the India Nippon would go up. It had gone up already, so, and this was close to Li-Fi, so this should, and then I'd done some reading up, but it fell. It fell by some less than 10%. It fell from 111. I think I bought it at 111 or something.
Okay.
It came down to 99 and around 100, and then I had a chance to re-enter when the market was picking up, but I didn't, and it freaking zoomed up. And the other thing is it zoomed up. Warren Buffett bought some Duracell or something during that time. There was some news, so it zoomed up on that also.
Possible.
So yeah, so this is another one. I was just keeping a track of it, but I really don't know if there was any indication that it was going to happen.
Indication in terms of no, technically the only thing that I would have said is that it was definitely, if you look at the chart, unwilling to go below 300. all right, and the whole of 4-5 months it just consolidated. But this is what patience is all about, from 325, 350, it went to 500, it's at 400. 100 rupees, 33% in just a flash of an eye, literally. This is a daily chart, and it went from what, 330 rupees all the way to 475 rupees in 3 days, and now it's just cooling off. So something would have triggered it, but technically if you were to ask me, one could not have said how much, but technically it was clearly not weak. That's all I can say. And I can't say it was looking strong. I can only say it was technically. So practically speaking, this is all you had. So you just have to take a call on.
So because now what I do is based on because that's one thing that struck me. These things that go flat, a couple of they just remain flat. I mean, irrespective of what is happening.
Yeah.
But when pretty much flat.
Yeah, but when they move, they can move like this.
Yeah, so I'm keeping an eye on those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next is ING. Oh, sorry.
ING, I see after that merger thing, I really don't know if should you hold or.
I think it is just, the merger, I don't know what the merger dates are, so really no idea. But, I mean, if you're looking at it technically, then it's definitely a buy, just like any of the other banks. But, my thing is, why deal with all that? You've got so many other options on the banking side that you could go and buy, IndusInd or Kotak or SBI or PNB.
Yeah, see, I think I bought it around 700 and some 700. So I can sell it now, right?
Yeah, or you can, how many shares do you have?
Just 10 or something.
Okay, because I don't even know how many of those Kotak shares you'll get for that. I was just wondering. So, and you get some fractional allotment, and that fractional allotment will get converted to cash, then you'll get some 1 or 2 shares of Kotak, plus you'll get some cash. I mean, what would be maybe, a lesson is you just hold on and see what happens. Because it's only when you have the money, all these lessons actually go down. So you're not going to lose money. I very much doubt you're going to lose money. But that whole thing, your Ringvisor shares will disappear from your demat account. You'll get one letter, and then Kotak shares will get credited. Plus, if you have fractional allotment, they'll give you some money for that fractional thing rather than shares. And that'll be interesting. It'll be a lesson that will stay with you for a long time, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You'll not lose. You'll probably even make more, possibly, if the banks go up, because you get Kotak goes up.
I was wondering more.
Yeah. So yeah, for that.
Okay.
All right. Done. Anything else? Done. All right. So closing down for tonight. Just reminding you of the session tomorrow. Please do come if you can, starting at 9:30. Go on till 12:31. And yeah, so there is no that young adults wealth session tomorrow afternoon. So in case you want to stay back after lunch and maybe there's no lunch. If we are, then we'll order it and have a discussion either on mentorship or NCFM or any of these things. Then we'll do that, right? Okay. So I'm just going to stop the recording here and discuss some other things. So for those who are watching the recording, welcome. Have a good week. Good night.